Oh, hello. You quote me reading The Lost Books of the Bible and the Forgotten Books of Eden. It's a great book. We'll come back to this a little bit later. But first, I'd like to ask you a question. Noah, Samson, Isaac, Jacob, Samuel, Elijah the Tishbite, John the Baptist, the Virgin Mary, and even Jesus himself all seem to have something in common. Do you know what that is? If not, stay tuned and we'll talk about it on this version of UFOs and aliens in the Bible. Have ancient astronauts, visitors from other planets, from other star systems, or other galaxies been documented in the Bible? This UFOs and Aliens in the Bible series will examine particular stories that will have you asking yourself, what do you believe? We've all heard the old saying, blood is thicker than water. Down through the centuries, it's always been important for men to have sons. From the highest of royalties all the way down to the common and basis of man. Man has always wanted a son for different reasons. Some to hand their dynasty over to, others to pass off their businesses, and to even others just to keep the name of the family going. Today we're going to look at bloodlines and how they appear to be involved in particular people's lives that the Bible has documented. So my question today is, if bloodlines are important for us, are they also important for God? Let's look at that. We'll start with a story that most people don't know about. This story is about Noah.
In the late 1940s and early 1950s, a series of ancient texts, known as the Dead Sea Scrolls, were discovered in a cave located in what is now Israel's West Bank. Among the ancient writings are various stories not found in the traditional Hebrew Bible. One such story tells of Noah and his strange, miraculous birth.
One of the Dead Sea Scrolls is called the Lamech Scroll. What is Lamech? Lamech was a shepherd. And one day Lamech, his woman, was pregnant. And he said to her, this is impossible. I was not here for months. But his woman with the name Batenosh swears, no one touched me. But Lamech doesn't believe his wife Batenosh, and he goes to his father, which was Methuselah. And Methuselah says to Lamech, I can't help you. I don't understand this. I believe your women, Batenosh, that nobody touched her, and I believe you. So what should I do? So Methuselah goes to his father, the grandfather now of Lamech. His name is Enoch. Now Enoch tells to Methuselah that the guardians of the sky have made an artificial insemination into the womb of Batenosh, the wife, and he should accept this child because this child would be the father of a new human generation.
Wow, that's very interesting. So, there's much that we don't know. There's a lot of ancient texts that we don't know about. The Dead Sea Scrolls is just one of them. A great website, though, to find out a lot of information is called The Reluctant Messenger. Look that one up. It has a lot of the ancient texts, a lot of the books that are no longer in the Bible, which I said we're going to talk about in a minute. But first, before we go there, let's look at a little script about Isaac, because I always wondered why it was so important for Isaac, for Sarah to bear Isaac when she had already given Hagar to Abraham to have a son with. And even Abraham himself was interested in Ishmael being the one that God had his covenant with. But God was persistent. He wanted Isaac. He wanted Sarah to bear Isaac so that he can have his covenant through. Let's look at this clip.
At the same time, God also told Abraham he would give him a son by Sarah. Abraham fell down laughing. He said to himself, "How can a child be born to a man who is 100 years old? How can Sarah, who is 90 years old, bear a child?" Abraham then pleaded that God might recognize his son Ishmael.
Lo Ishmael.
Oh, that Ishmael might live in your sight. In Genesis 17:19, God replied,
No, but your wife Sarah shall bear you a son, and you shall name him Isaac. As for Ishmael, I have heard you. I will bless him and make him fruitful and exceedingly numerous. He shall be the father of 12 princes, and I will make him a great nation. But my covenant I will establish with Isaac, whom Sarah shall bear you at this season next year.
So in my mind, it was important for God himself, it seems, to ensure that he had the proper bloodline by impregnating women that were barren. These ladies couldn't have babies, but when God got involved in their life, they end up having babies. You know, we mentioned John the Baptist, we mentioned the Virgin Mary, we mentioned even Jesus Christ himself, we mentioned Samson, and we mentioned Samuel. Elijah the Tishbite was mentioned. There's no genealogy or reference from where he came from in the Bible. Tishbite meaning stranger. So my question is then, if God used a lot of barren women, or, you know, the stories of these men that did great things, some of them there's no record of the genealogy, does that mean that God wanted to ensure that it was his bloodline? Now, the thing that gets me is this. We look at seeds. Let's look at seeds for a minute. And this is why I titled this Godly Bloodline or Alien DNA. From what I'm told, and science has proven this, and we all know this to be true, if you plant an apple seed, you can only get an apple. You can't get an orange. If you try to breed a dog with a cat, it's not happening. We haven't seen that happen yet. I can only bear human beings. So if God was impregnating females with his seed, does that mean that God is like us? Does that mean that our DNA and his DNA match enough to where he can create humans? You know, all the ancient texts, which there are many, the Bible isn't the only one that talks about virgin births. If you read your ancient texts, which I think is important to read all books, you'll find that people like Horus and just many others, I won't go into that because we're focusing in on the Bible characters right now. But even Horus was supposed to have been born of a virgin. Do some homework, look that up, do a study. But it just appears to me that God chooses particular women that, one, he can prove it's his seed because they're either barren. We're going to talk about Mary's mother in a little bit. You know, most people didn't know that Noah's mother conceived him, and Noah's dad had some doubt. A lot of people don't know about Mary's mother, Anna, who had Mary, and her husband was not supposed to have been the one to impregnate her, but a light from heaven shone on her, and then Mary comes about. It just looks like to me that God is ensuring his bloodline. The reason I ask is it alien DNA is because, one, most of the religions get started because someone has come down and visited. Even in all the stories, all the characters of the lives of people that I just mentioned, somebody came down and talked to them, an angel of the Lord. Angel simply means messenger. So, perhaps this godly bloodline might be the bloodline of a visitor. We call them aliens, but somebody off the planet of Earth impregnated these ladies to ensure that their mission was met. Now, let's look at Mary. I said we were going to come back to this book. A lot of people don't know, but the Apocrypha are books that were left out of the original Bible. Many of the stories that we see in the Bible, the canonical Bible, are just condensed versions of many stories. You see, back in 323 AD, Constantine became the emperor of Rome. And during that period, he embraced the Christian faith because he saw that Christians were willing to go to their death. But during that period, there were so many different books. There were so many divisions of the Christian sects. You had the Gnostics, and you just had too many people that had their own versions of their book. And Constantine needed to bring, in order to establish rule and to be able to control the people, he needed to bring everything into one place collectively. So he formed the Council of Nicaea, and there over 300 priests got together, and they went over and they looked at the books that were in the Bible, and they condensed them. And now we have the canonical Bible. So I think it's important that you look at the history of everything, and you'll come to find out that perhaps, you know, some of the stories in the Dead Sea Scrolls are correct, because even the ones that's in there, that's in the canonical Bible, they coincide with the Bible. So what about the ones that aren't in the Bible? Could they be just as factual as the ones that coincide with the canonical Bible? Anyway, that's just a thought, something for you to think about. Do your studying, look up the ancient texts, read. You're going to find that there's a lot of similarities that's in the Bible. But this bloodline of God that seemed to take place where he likes to deal with barren women, and or people come on the scene that have no record of genealogy in the Bible, generally shows who begot whom. So let's kind of look at that a little bit more. Do your own studies. Come to your own conclusions. Again, I always say, this is just a theory, just something that I'm asking a question about. You have to decide for yourself. I know mainstream Christianity don't generally look outside the Bible, but I think if they did, the mindset would be changed just a little bit. Anyway, thanks for joining me on this episode of UFOs and Aliens in the Bible. See you the next time.